Are we ready? Let's try it. Steve Allen, Jack Parr, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon. Now, the first question that you would ask yourself is, what does this list of people have in common? And the answer to that question is that these are all hosts of The Tonight Show. That is right, the dynastic television late night show that's been around since the 1950s, spanned generations on NBC. The Tonight Show is a media institution. Now, the second question you're probably asking yourself is, why is Jay Leno listed twice? And that is an interesting story. And it's kind of something that I'm going to want to argue about today. I want to talk about why Jay Leno should have never hosted The Tonight Show to begin with, and I have a few reasons that I want to talk to you about. The first of them being that the old host didn't want it that way. Johnny Carson, after almost 30 years on the air, creating this show into the dynasty that it became, didn't want Jay Leno to become the host. He wanted David Letterman. And so this started the first late night war back in the early 90s between Letterman, who was the host of Late Night at the time, and Leno, who would come in and be the occasional guest host of The Tonight Show. They argue and bicker back and forth. Letterman ends up leaving the network to go to CBS, and Leno gets The Tonight Show. This is all going to sound pretty familiar later in the speech. The second reason is that Leno didn't seem to care that much about The Tonight Show to begin with. According to an article from Business Insider, Leno says that he never spent $1 of the money that he made on The Tonight Show, instead using the money that he got from outside projects like acting and stand-up comedy to pay for things like his expensive car collection, of which he is very much known for. And because all of these side projects of acting and car collections and doing stand-up gigs every weekend, you never really felt like Jay Leno was that invested in the show. And you think maybe someone like Letterman, who is still hosting shows because he enjoys the craft of it, might have been better suited for that role. The third reason that I think Jay Leno should have never hosted The Tonight Show is because he was a character witness for Michael Jackson in his 2005 child sexual assault case. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. And then we come to the fourth reason. He screwed Conan O'Brien out of The Tonight Show. After almost 20 years of being on the air, Jay Leno was told by NBC in 2004 that in 2009 he was going to have to step down because in contract negotiations, Fox had offered Conan O'Brien, then the host of Late Night, the same show that David Letterman hosted before he left to go to CBS, Fox had offered O'Brien a deal to have his own show in the same time slot as The Tonight Show and Letterman. And to keep O'Brien from going to Fox, NBC said in 5 years you can have The Tonight Show. And all of this was accounted for in The War for Late Night, a book that was written where Conan O'Brien got to host The Tonight Show for a little less than a year. And in that time, Leno asked to get out of his NBC contract. They didn't let him out of his NBC contract. He complained. Leno gets a 10 p.m. show in prime time. That's a variety show that's basically Jay Leno's version of The Tonight Show, as a lead-in for the local news that was a lead-in for The Tonight Show. So because of this, after Leno gets his show, the ratings for the news go down and the ratings for Conan go down. And so there's this big kerfuffle, and Jay Leno ends up having The Tonight Show back, and Conan leaves and goes to TBS. And whilst I was doing my research for this exact topic, Jay Leno sends out an apology for some of the jokes that he had made that were very insensitive to the Asian American community. But doing further research into this, I see Otto Santa Anna in the Journal of Language and Society points out that this sort of racist humor was normal for him. That in the George W. Bush administration, he would make jokes about our Mexican-American friends and family. And these things are hurtful to those people and should have never been allowed on national television. So why does any of this matter? I can talk about TV shows, and that's TV, and this is real life. But I want to point to a couple of journal articles that really point out the importance of a dynastic television show like The Tonight Show. In the Journal of Political Communication, it talks about how politicians go on these late night shows to get to a new audience. And these late night hosts have the ability to frame the news in a certain way that these people who aren't watching the news and aren't doing research on these politicians are getting their information on politics from these late night hosts. And late night hosts can kind of be the funnel for what people believe. And then the second article that I wanted to point out was about discourse, context, and media. In that journal, it talks about how celebrities will go on late night shows and portray themselves as their best selves so that people will buy their products, their services, the media, all of those sort of things. So we see these late night shows being a frame of reference, not only for how we vote, not only for how we understand the news, but for what we buy and what we do with our lives. That is a lot of power. That is a lot of control that these late night hosts have over who we are as people. And even if you aren't an every night watcher, we've all come across these YouTube videos of different late night shows and that sort of deal. Now, I hope by now you understand why I'm not a fan of Jay Leno, why I don't think he should have been the Tonight Show host, why I think the two alternatives would have been better than what Jay Leno was. But I leave you with this. Why would we want someone to be the host of the Tonight Show whose greatest accomplishment was being the Crimson Chin in Fairly Odd Parents? Thank you.